Still continuing on the series of German grammar of the video that I posted 2 weeks ago. Today we are going to talk about declension in German. So if you're new in learning German or you might have never heard of declension, so we are going to dive deep into it today. So if you have watched the video from 2 weeks ago, or at least if you know any meme about German language, you might know that the word the is translated into a lot of different words in German. So for example, for the nominative case, for the subject, you've already known or you've already heard about der, die, and das. Der is for masculine subject, die is for feminine subject, and das for neuter subject. And we also have another D, which is the second D, which is for the plural nouns, plural subject. And we also know the indefinite article, which is equivalent to the or n in English. In German, we also have ein for masculine, eine for feminine, and come back to ein for neuter. I think that's pretty easy. And also for the pronouns, you will have ich, I, du, you, sie, es for he, she, it, wir for we, ihr for you plural, and sie again, but this time for they. So these are the pronouns for subject, for nominative. You've already known that. So you would say, for example, der Mann trinkt Bier. The man is drinking beer. Or die Oma backt einen Kuchen. The grandmother is baking a cake. Or das Mädchen liest ein Buch. Das Mädchen, the girl, reads a book. Yes, the girl is not feminine, it's neuter because Mädchen is the diminutive or the small form of the word Magd, which is not used anymore. So Magd means a woman and Mädchen is the little woman, so it's a girl, and every diminutive form is always neuter. So every word that ends with chen or line are always neuter. Okay, so the nominative case is pretty easy. Everyone knows that. It's the subject. And we will have accusative, dative, and genitive. Genitive is pretty much not relevant. You can learn it after. Let's forget about that case for now. So let's focus on the two other cases, accusative and dative. Those are the focus for today's video. So accusative is the direct object. It is the thing that receiving the action of a verb, receiving the direct action of a verb. The typical verbs that you will use with accusative are, for example, to see, sehen, you see something. This something will take the accusative part. To hear, hören, you hear something. To eat something, essen. To bake something, backen, to buy something, kaufen, to find something, finden. These verbs will need an accusative or a direct object. So for the definite article, again, in nominative, you will have der, die, das, die. And accusative, only the masculine will change its definite article. So instead of der, you will have den. So in accusative, you will have den, die, das, die. Let's take a look at an example. So before we had an example, the man drinks beer. Der Mann trinkt Bier. The man here is in the subject position, nominative. Now let's put the man in the direct object position. For example, I would say, I see the man. So here you would say, ich sehe, not der Mann, but den Mann. Ich sehe den Mann. Or ich sehe einen Mann. I see a man. For the feminine and neuter nouns, they are not changed. So for example, he finds a book, you would simply say, er findet ein Buch. Or if it is he finds the book, it would be findet das Buch. The same thing also happens for the feminine noun. And the pronouns for accusative case are mich, me, dich, you, in, him, sie, her, es, it, uns for us, euch for you, plural, and sie for them. On the other hand, dative is a little bit more complicated. It is for the indirect object of a sentence. So it is the entity to whom or for whom the action is performed. It's a little bit complicated. The typical sentence that needs dative are the one that involves like, I show something to someone. This to someone is always the dative part. So sagen, to say, erzählen, to tell, zeigen, to show, geben, to give, bieten or anbieten, to offer. So the definite articles for the dative case are dem, der, dem, den. And instead of die, you will have der for the feminine nouns. This part is a little bit confusing because you might say, okay, der is usually for masculine nouns. So now in dative, the feminine becomes masculine. No, it's not like that. It's just they are the same word, but you must think of them as separate words. So der in dative has nothing to do with masculine. So yeah, die in nominative will change to der for feminine nouns. And for the plural, die in nominative will change into den in dative, which is also the same word as in masculine accusative. A little bit complicated, but you get the hang of it. I mean, the accusative is pretty easy. You only need to remember the dative, basically. So let's take a look at some examples. So let's say I give the man a book. Again, I keep repeating the word the man. So in nominative, we had der Mann. In accusative, we had den Mann. And now in dative, we will have dem Mann. So I give the man a book. Ich gebe dem Mann ein Buch. I show the female student the room. So here I would say, ich zeige der Schülerin den Raum. So you see always the I show the room to the female student. This to someone part is the dative part. So the pronouns for the dative case are mir, to me, dir, to you, ihm, to him, ihr, to her, im, to it, uns, to us, euch, to you, plural, ihnen, to them. So here again, you might see a little bit of confusion because the word ihr is now also a dative for she, but ihr is also the nominative for you, plural. A little bit confusing. Other than that, it's actually pretty close sounding to English. For example, im and him, pretty similar. And ihr and her is actually also pretty similar. The accusative and dative for we and you, plural, they are the same. So uns, uns, and euch, euch. So we use the dative not only for verbs like to say or to show. There are some verbs that intuitively they should need an accusative instead of a dative, but I don't know why they use indirect objects instead of direct objects. These are some exceptions, I would say. For example, the word to thank. Instead of saying to thank someone, it's kind of like to say to thank to someone. So you say, I thank him. It would be ich danke ihm and not ich danke ihn. And also to congratulate, gratulieren is also with dative. We congratulate her. Wir gratulieren ihr and not wir gratulieren Sie. To trust is also with dative, vertrauen. And to help is also with dative, helfen. Some verbs kind of like inverted. So for example, the verb gehören. No, it's actually not inverted. It's also the other way around in English. Gehören, to belong. It belongs to me, so it's dative. I guess that's pretty normal. Es gehört mir. And also gefallen, to please. The book pleases me. Or like, I like the book. You can say das Buch gefällt mir. And also schmecken, to taste. The soup tastes good to me. You would say die Suppe schmeckt mir gut. Let's take a look at some prepositions. There are 5 prepositions that are always followed by accusative. They are durch, für, gegen, ohne, The thing that I will always remember is für. I do it for you, für dich. And also ohne, without. Without you, it wouldn't be the same. Ohne dich, blah, blah, blah. And there are also some prepositions that are always followed by dative. The list is a little bit longer. You will have aus, außer, bei, mit, nach, seit, von, zu. And again, here the one that you might want to remember from the get-go is mit, with. So with is followed with dative, but without is followed with accusative. And then there are, of course, some prepositions that can work with both accusative or dative depending on the context, depending on the meaning that you want to say in the sentence. And the list is also pretty long. It's all about location or position. They are an, auf, hinter, in, neben, über, unter, vor, zwischen. So for example, you can see the difference between these 2 sentences. Ich gehe in die Stadt spazieren. Or ich gehe in der Stadt spazieren. In the first sentence, I use the accusative case, in die Stadt, in the city. So that means I am going into the city. So I am not yet in the city and I'm going in. I'm going inside, from the outside. The second sentence, ich gehe in der Stadt spazieren, it means that I am already in the city and I'm going around the city. The movement is within the city, so I use dative. But if the movement is like going into it, then I will use accusative. So for example, I want to say I put the book on the table. I would say ich lege das Buch auf den Tisch. So the book is not yet there. I put the book on the table. So there's a movement. So I would use accusative in this case. But if I want to say the book is on the table, I would use the dative because there's no movement. Das Buch liegt auf dem Tisch. The book is already there. There's no movement anymore. So we use the dative. It is a little bit confusing for a beginner. I would use dative more instead of the accusative. Just, I don't know, maybe that's like the mistake that I make. Just notice that there's a difference between these 2 and you are good, I think. You will learn it with time to differentiate between the accusative and the dative cases for movement or no movement. I think that's basically it. Those are the secrets of accusative and dative. There are also some adjective declension for accusative and dative, but we can take a look at them later on. The first thing to remember from this video is that you understand the difference between direct object and indirect object and which verbs you need for accusative case and for dative case. If you understand them, I would take that as a win already. That's one step further of you learning German grammar. And if you like these kinds of videos, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to me. That will help me to continue producing such videos to help you also learn a new language, just like me as a foreign language learner. And I'll see you again next time. Bye!